Archives of Prasar Bharati presents the timeless treasure of Golden Era.
Today's journey is into the 24th state of the Indian Union, tucked away in the misty northeast, where access is not always easy. This area was formerly called the Northeast Frontier Agency, or NEFA. We visited Arunachal Pradesh in August, a treacherous month in hilly terrain, as we found out. It is a tough job building and maintaining these roads, and landslides can play havoc. Before these roads, there was near complete isolation. And the people here are grateful to those who built roads where there used to be total wilderness. This statue salutes the spirit of those valiant souls who built these roads, often sacrificing their own lives in the process. Thinking about the indomitable quality of human spirit, we journeyed to Itanagar, the capital of Arunachal Pradesh. The name is derived from these brick remains in the heart of the city, which are probably those of a 17th century fort. Arunachal is a land of diverse cultures and religions, and geography has often determined religious traits. Christianity never really came here, as the British did not allow missionaries into this region. The Dalai Lama laid the foundation stone for this center of Buddhist studies, where lamas practicing Mahayana Buddhism research on Buddha's doctrines of peace.
बुद्धिज़्म यहाँ में काफ़ी लोग हैं यहाँ में ऐसे टोटल आपका 3000 के ऊपर में होगा और सवेरे हम लोग 6:30 बजे से 8 बजे 8:30 इन तक में पूजा चलता है यहाँ में उसमें फुल मून में तो सब लोग आके यहाँ में और हम लोग पूजा करते हैं उसमें प्रसाद वर्साद दे के सब आदमी यहाँ में आके जमा होता है.
We also came across another sect of Buddhists at the Theravada Buddha Vihar.
After the 300 years of the Mahaparinirvana of Gautama Buddha, there was some conflict between the members of the Sangha. So, some of the Sanghas, members of the Sanghas, they form a new sect of Buddhism, which is known as Mahayana Buddhism. The original Buddhism founded by Gautama Buddha is known as Theravada Buddhism.
The followers of this sect claim that what they practice is the original form of the religion as practiced by the Buddha.
Then now another major change in Arunachal is the influence of all the different religions that are coming in. So far I'm glad to say the state has been very tolerant. You know, you see a lot of churches, both Catholic, Protestant. People have the right to join whichever group they'd like to put their faith in. We have Hindu temples. Of course, we have the Buddhist religions with us from before. All the border areas are Buddhist. And also there has been a great revival of our traditional faith, you know, the Donyi Polo, which literally translated means the sun-moon faith.
So this particular natural element have been adopted by the people for the reasons that sun and moon, they are the perennial source of light, power and energy, and as such the life-giving force.
And this is actually, it's a way of life, you know, it's so intertwined with our daily living that people don't even think of it as a formal religion. It's there, every day in your work. And when a person is very good, they say, he is a Donyi Polo person.
The believers of Donyi Polo faith, they practice this religion traditionally without any temple and not in an organized manner. They used to pray by heart.
Donyi Polo, there's no temples. Only now the state is trying to create a place where people can congregate and practice this Donyi Polo culture. But originally it was only during the great festivals that people got together, and we have these special singers, the rhapsodists, who narrate the whole history of the tribe. He would sing, sometimes for 5 days and 5 nights, and he would be singing the whole story of creation.
From there, we went to pay a visit to a hospital run by a Ramakrishna Mission.
Ramakrishna Mission in Arunachal Pradesh. We came in Arunachal Pradesh before 30 years, when development in this remote state of Arunachal Pradesh was practically nil. Education was very, very low here. At that time, we opened a school in a remote area of Arunachal Pradesh called Along. That school is still running, and we are having nearly 2,000 students. It is a residential school. Then we are having another school in Tibet district near Devmali. There we are having nearly 600 residential schools. Both schools are higher secondary schools. Third, we are having here in Itanagar, the capital of Arunachal Pradesh, a general hospital. This is the biggest hospital in Arunachal Pradesh, and we are having 180 beds here, and daily nearly 1,000 people in OPD attend this hospital. This hospital has started in 1979. We started from the OPD, just the beginning, and then slowly it has been expanded to the present state. People from all over Arunachal Pradesh come here for treatment. They sometimes come from a very remote area. They walk for 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, even 1 week, and they come here for treatment. So you can understand how much this hospital is giving its service to the people of this remote area, where modern facilities of medical treatment is very, very less.
As we were taking in images of Arunachal Pradesh, it was raining all the while, and we drove down a wet and winding road to watch some very gracious and rhythmic dancing that seemed to have an essence of timelessness. Stopped by to watch the Adi dance. This is usually performed during the Bhupen festival. The beautifully clad women swayed rhythmically as they sang about the birds and the beasts.
lunge pereko, pere omengo pereko, pere labugo pereko, pere omengo pereko, ire silela pereko, pere omengo pereko, pere labago pereko, pere omengo pereko, ire silela pereko, pere omengo pereko, pere jamago pereko, pere omengo pereko, jali lakuju pereko, pere omengo pereko, pere jamago pereko, pere omengo pereko, jasum lakuju pereko, pere omengo pereko, pere jamago pereko, pere omengo pereko, jali lakuju pereko, pere omengo pereko, pere jamago pereko, pere omengo pereko, jali lakuju pereko.
What impact would you say is westernization and modernization having on the traditional culture?
No, not really. I think despite all the influences and despite the suddenness of the change, there is a great movement in many of the district headquarters, I would say, and also in Itanagar, to remind ourselves, to constantly revive what was our culture, what is our culture, what are our beliefs. So we have a lot of good people who are taking up these various projects and trying to keep things alive in the modern context. When it becomes very difficult, you either remove your whole past and catch up with the present, or you try to keep both together. Striking this harmony is the difficulty. Most of Arunachal is very, very rural still. I mean, you see Itanagar, but this is just that little patch of, cosmopolitan influence in the center of the hills. Rest of the state is still very innocent. They've never seen strangers in their villages before. They've never taken a step out of their villages. Also, we never had so much intertribal communication. There was no intertribal marriage. So all the communities, we didn't see much of each other, So there was no, I suppose, no kind of disturbance or restlessness or even enmity to build up. And people were very content with their lives within their particular community. This is, of course, changing now. There are the effects of development which have good and bad, especially cable TV. I must say this has really influenced our young people, There we see a lot of changes. There's more wanting, then the gap is increasing between people who have and who don't, obviously, like in so many other states. And that is not so much the problem. The problem is when you lose that innocence, when you're no longer ignorant, and you know there are things, but you can't have it. Then even tribal society gets very restless.
There is the gap between wanting and having. But even here, there are people who look like they do not get restless and seem to be contentedly weaving.
Unlike in the rest of the country, only the women are allowed to weave. Manipur, even the male members do wonderful textiles. In the south, I've seen the loom workers, most of them are men doing the silks. In Arunachal, it's totally the domain of women. Men are not allowed to touch the instruments of weaving even, and that is a woman's weapon, And there are stories, of course, they say the designs came to women, in a dream given by the gods. Before that, we didn't know how to weave. So all the patterns were sort of born in a dream. And there is a punishment also that, if you haven't been a good person, after death, when you go into the underworld, if you're being punished, you'll go to a place where there are no weavers. So you can see the status of how much weaving and this means to local tradition, tribal tradition.
Ali baluso pakur mamir baskusa. Ali baluso pakur mamir baskusa.
We moved on to catch a glimpse of the man's world, where we found dexterous hands working on bamboo and cane. Bamboo is one of Arunachal's greatest natural resources and quite omnipresent in the common man's life. in the shape of building materials, furniture, and various implements like fish traps, baskets, strainers, etc. Through our various excursions, the rain never ceased. But we went to the Indira Gandhi Park, where a lot of people had gathered. Umbrella in hand, people watched Chief Minister Gegong Apang unfurl the tricolour and celebrate a free India turning 51. The program that followed was a cultural medley, an indication that the rest of the world is no longer shunned, that the days of splendid isolation are now over. The splendid isolation might be over, but traditions are preserved because they are also a way of life. There are, however, some traditions that the new state seeks to change. For instance, in this largely patriarchal society, there is now an attempt to have women participating in politics.
Women have always been traditionally, the stronger of the two genders because they do all the work and they do the fields, they do the housekeeping, they do the carrying of water, the fetching of wood. And the male is there mainly as, to uphold the patriarchal line. Women are not involved in politics so much. Now they're coming into the field, but this is a very new thing. One has had to fight for it quite a lot. And now there's, of course, we have the Arunachal Pradesh Women's Welfare Society, but they have been quite active in this field also, pushing for political rights and for legislation in the assemblies to put in clauses for the protection of women and children, because recently they had passed a bill for the protection and preservation of customary practice, which is again quite discriminatory if you study it carefully. You know, okay, you say it's good to preserve one's traditions, but one has to sift, remove the things which are not so valid anymore and which are detrimental to the progress of women and children in the state.
The formation of NEFA and later of the state of Arunachal Pradesh was an outcome of efforts to preserve the unique tribal traditions which are an outcome of centuries of isolation. As modernization spreads its tentacles, as it indeed must, it must not be a case of the old order unthinkingly giving way to the new. A race without memory would be a lost race.
Solu ayami sogu talijo. Solu ayami sogu talijo. Manu sabuka ado aloso. Manu sabuka